Let's see. Do you ever tested something in IoT? Perfect. Okay. Have you tested anything in web? Mobile? Mobile. Embedded? Communication? Okay, so you all are ready to test in IoT, but with little details. So, blah, blah, blah. I already presented. As a European company, we worked a lot with European and North American customers. And all the things that I tell today almost happened or actually happened to my team, caused us many pain. So I just notify you. Unfortunately, there is no silver bullet. Everything that I tell can work, cannot work, can work as is, or can work mixed, or can work not at all. First of all, let's define IoT to simplify what we are talking about. 3 letters that sell: mobile, web, cloud, whatever, whoever, IoT. In wider understanding, again, IoT, definition of IoT is wide as underpants of sumo wrestler. Everything can get there. But usually it is data transmission from devices to devices or from devices to human to make some decision. IoT subsystems includes controllers, first of all sensors, controllers, everything relates to data transmission, everything relates to data receive, store, process, reprocess, display, sun, moon, universe, whatever it takes. Oops, I pushed something wrong. Specifics of the IoT project, usually this is a customer. If customer wants some sub-team to join their team and test or develop solution as part of customer's team, no questions, we're not talking about that. Today we're talking only about projects when customer comes and want your company or you as individual deliver a project or standalone feature to this project. Yeah, so again, something wrong. Probably. Two types of customer. Second type of customer has its own very specific and very useful language, technical language. Example is on the screen. This, for example, those two pictures containing architecture of the solution, requirements of the solution, and use cases. One of them is about engine, I believe, left. Second one is something about, or vice versa, I don't remember, whatever. But customer that comes to you won't understand what you want to talk with regular documentation that you usually use. This is very important to understand. Okay, let's try. Customer expectations, usually. Fixed price and fixed date. They don't care how, when, and what it pays to you to do this project. Customer works in very specific area where everything is visible. So if you build in a house, each stage is visible, you see how it changes. If you build an engine, every stage of this engine implementation is visible and touchable. That is very important. Zero quality issues. Don't tell the customer there are minor issues. They won't understand that. And testing, they don't understand the IT testing as is. For them, again, with building, customer here, your proposal about building a test as, okay, for your money, we will build next to your house, the same materials, perform there several tests, and then destroy it. and you pay for it. Don't understand? Usually for them testing is everything is ready and quality engineer with QA checklist running around and says, okay, this is a room, okay, I see floor, I see some stairs, windows, okay, everything is okay, checklist, 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 everything is ready. So, please understand, when you defining architecture, defining environment, when you selecting technology or whatever, or very important, on doing some important things from IT perspective, from customer perspective, you proposing to him nothing. Nothing that worth huge amount of money. 100,000, this is just a case, it can be 50,000, it can be 5,000, depends on the project and the customer. Avoid this at any cost. Otherwise, evaluation of results of the project will be totally broad. And again, how customer doesn't evaluate the project? Not by tech parameters. So your test checklist can include test parameters. It will be accepted because, well, you know, everybody accepts something like that, but it says customer nothing. Same is not by complexity of the solved problem. We have so perfect third-party application, but it didn't fit, and we work at workaround that allow us to use it, blah, 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 blah. And again, not test cases, test report, test results, and list of defects that you used to in IT. Totally different understanding. And be prepared, because when you're trying to push customer something like that, customer willingly share his, let's say, frustration with you, with manager, and with every team member ever, and with your management as well. Main rules of quality control are, you should define what customer expects from the project, not from what you deliver, not from deliverables, but exactly what product or feature does. And this must be defined in details, so you must understand this feature in the same way as customer does. Responsibilities. God save you if you telling customer the system will work. Because IoT system is complex system that depends on huge amount of different conditions. And for example, you doing some protocol for, I don't know, wind electrostations, and you say system is working. And field engineer does something wrong, first bolt into this electrostation, and huge red hot drops of aluminum falling on your reputation, not him. Okay, then you can come and tell your customer, okay, we didn't mean that system, you understand, everybody understand, but you know, the bad feeling will remain. Clarify everything, it means literally everything. How it will work, where it will work, what are conditions, what are expectations of customers, what are expectations of end users, in details. And remember, things that are not written doesn't exist. And this is not because customer wants you to make more for less money, or he's greedy, or he's bad. This is the way how this business works. Because people come into each other, they agree on something, and then can easily modify some, let's say, some elements of the agreement during following agreements. But you are placed somewhere else. You are not watching eyes to everybody. And when a customer comes and said, okay guys, I thought that this should be in different way, and you have no written proof that previously exactly this number was agreed in different way. customer will force you to do how he wants because he paying money. He is the owner of the project. Maximum reasonable automation. This case, you don't tell customer that you're doing automation at all. Usually you don't telling customer that you're doing testing at all. Doesn't matter. Automate as much as possible from the beginning. Your voice must be heard before you sign an agreement, before your project manager start doing something. You must came to the project manager and say, okay, this doesn't include even bench of automation, this won't work. You're doing this from 2 points of view. First point of view, this will simplify your work because scripting will help you to do your actions faster. Second, if you're successful, the project will return to you for additional actions. And if you don't have automation from the scratch, after second, third returning to you, with manual testing, you will be killed. You won't have enough resources to perform manual testing at all. That's it. Do not expect a miracle. IoT is very sensitive to resources that you're using. For example, from all the possible controllers that are available on the market, which one customer will select as a target for his system? Answer is that has enough amount of production for less money. You can die explaining that from technical point of view, it will be easier, it will save something or whatever. If it doesn't have enough amount of production of the hardware, if it doesn't have enough amount of flexibility on the cloud, if it doesn't have enough users from browser point of view, forget about it. And responsive process of quality control, very important. You're talking to customer. Okay, sometimes not you, sometimes your project manager, delivery manager, tech lead, test lead, whatever, sometimes you. And customer want to hear stuff that he understands. You must display progress as part of quality control. You must display quality as part of customer control in the way that customer understands and expects to hear or see. Mostly to see. Because here is, again, nothing that worth a bunch of money. Come on, show me something. This is the problems that you will meet. This is the main problems that you will meet if for any reason you slept during creation of your process. It doesn't mean that you 100% meet all of them or at least one of them. There can be different, but in case you not responsive quality control process, you will have here your own list of problems, and they will be your pain everywhere. Critical defects on production. Okay, simple example. We have a software. Software is developed and designed, developed, architectured, it working perfectly on specific environment. And we are moving this software or on another environment. Software includes operations with double values, and for some reason on new environment, those values has, let's say not difference, but well, during trunking, they have different value in the sixth symbol after dot. On the let's say, if we take in the line 0 to 100 and you're putting there some threshold, this small error can cause you that thresholds will slip, for example, on 0 to 100 on 3. And you have 6% more fails on production only because environment has changed slightly. Well, it was because not the build, but it has version, version build of the one third-party application was different. Version was the same. And we failed delivery. That was very unpleasant. Many defects on target. This is the same. By the way, talking about staging and production and reference and target. Staging and production, this is about environment. Reference and target, this is about hardware. If hardware is different, and hardware will be different, because during development process, customer can find different chips, different chipsets, can agree, can make agreement with different cloud provider, whatever. If this is changed during development and you didn't react on time, you're in big trouble, and project as well. Customer is unhappy. Well, customer is always unhappy, but in case you're not providing visual representation of what you're doing, if customer can't see the progress, can't see the quality, customer will be double unhappy and will share his frustration even in person. And underestimate. Again, small details. Your environment or your product must work in browser. We're talking about usually Chrome, Mozilla, right? We forget about IE. You slept in estimates. You forget that Mozilla in last 2 years had 7 builds, and they sometimes behaving different. You slept in estimates. You forget that Internet Explorer 7 is not the same that Edge. You slept in underestimate, and your project is deep in trouble, so deep that you can't even breathe. How to avoid those problems? Paranoid detailed requirements in writing. And requirements, I mean requirements, and paranoid, I mean paranoid. Everything, every version, every build, for every application, for every environment, for every hardware must be there. If it's impossible, God save you. Do as much as you can. Otherwise, you're in big trouble. Define intercompany rules for code. Here I must say at first, do not reuse code. Usually this is forbidden. Companies signing NDA in case it will appear that code was reused. This is violation of the NDA. But define the rules, it means exactly for IoT projects, because usually you have a series of IoT projects that are more or less similar to each other in some areas at least. So how you name variables, how you use environment, which environment versions do you use if customer doesn't want to get in there. All this stuff define and reuse by different teams in your company if different teams working on IoT projects. Same as for intercompany rules for test. You can define, simple example, automation of the UI. In most IoT systems, you will have login page, you will have user page, you will have dashboard, you will have some chart, you will have something else. And definition of how you name those objects in browser will simplify you writing of automated testing, and you can simply reuse tests by renaming variables, for example, because again, reuse is forbidden, usually by NDA. Avoid this. Duplicate production to staging. Avoid, say, in all the possible ways, avoid the staging. If it's impossible, duplicate production to staging. I mean duplicate. You need to take care about data safety and all the security stuff, but if you have tested all your solution on staging, and staging, for example, had 6 GB of the data, and you're moving to production, and production have 600 GB of the data, 100% that you will be broken. Something somewhere will be too slow and system won't work. Same as if customer says, again from history, our engineers will assign priorities to those entries, whatever in entries are. You need to clarify how they will do it, because usually priorities are unique. So you expect 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and never. There will be priorities 1, 2, 3, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 101. You're moving from staging to production, you totally broken and system not work. Avoid reference, be target, the same. Small difference in chip, in any part of the chip can break your solution during migration. And you will have to spend time and resources to recreate the code, recode, retest, because after changing some models and changing code on those models, they easily cannot work anymore, as expected. And adjust reporting. This is what is your direct responsibility during the IoT projects. It means a list of test case passed failed can work, cannot. On different stage it will be different. Sometimes customer want to hear we have tested it, everything is fine. Sometimes customer wants to see screenshots of every page with entered data, with error messages on invalid data, with description what have you done. Same customer, difference 2 weeks. You listen customer carefully every day, and every day you deciding how you adjust reporting of your tests and reporting of quality and reporting of progress of the product. Otherwise, customer willingly share his frustration with you. Believe me, when customer says, I'm frustrated, this is not a frustration. Frustration is when customer calls you in time where it is comfortable to the customer to share his frustration. And usually this is 2 a.m. our time. And in general, that's it. So if you have some questions or you want to hear, I don't know, some funny stories about it, yes, please.
And how you react when customers try to change like our third-party libraries, maybe some target for your product and so on?
This is a very good question. We defining it in exactly paranoid way. We writing down versions of the browsers where we tested. We writing down version of the database that will be used, or databases. Version plus build, sometimes this is important. We writing down version of the operational system where it will be running. We writing down all of that. Then based on historical experience, we can say, for example, if we have 20 pages and we have 6 versions of the browser, it will take a week. If we have 7, it will take a week and a half because there will be problems. All of that. Same as with hardware. We writing down there will be motherboard version, that chipset, this version, all of that. Third-party applications. we're listing all those first-party applications. This is why I'm honestly saying hate open source, because usually open source stops supporting previous versions. And again, you get into the trouble because customer wants everything to be supported. And either you saying, okay, we will support this previous version, or you have to migrate. This is the big problem. And after listing all of those versions in the paranoid way, we sending it to customer. We saying, we working exactly with that. In case something is changed, this is the change procedure. This is how we're passing it. This is how we're changing our estimation. And this, again, must be written. If it's not written, doesn't happen. And if you come to customer and say, okay, we agreed on previous call that we can modify something if some, I don't remember. And this is not because he's bad. He's definitely doesn't remember. Because it doesn't important. This is one thing that IT guys usually forget when working with IoT providers. IT solution is not the most important part, usually, in IoT solution. Software is not that important. Car can drive without connecting to the server. Connecting to the server is additional feature that allows to sell more cars. And customer wants it and will be frustrated if it doesn't work. But if you fail, his car still selling. Same as with engine. Same as with houses. Houses will be sold without smart home. But with smart home, they will be sold more and more expensive. This is why customer wants it. Yes, please.
How much time you spend with this paranoid detail requirements and describing all these processes, maybe in comparison percentage for another?
Depends. Up to a week. I need to clarify with developers that we're using exactly those versions. Sometimes developers don't want to sign up for something specific too. I'm talking to testers and we agreeing. For example, if you need to use Selenium, we are specifying which Selenium version we will use for our testing. If we're writing scripts and those scripts are deliverables, we are writing which Python version we are using to write those scripts. If you're using PyTest, we are writing version of PyTest. If you're using some additional Python models and there is versioning, we are writing those versions.
And one more question. Do you have some, maybe, I don't know, checklist templates for such type of projects, and if it is, could be reused for different customers or something? Or each need some special?
Yes. Because, okay, I have several checklists because we are working with customers in different industries. Unfortunately, we cannot work with all customers in a specific industry because NDA forbids us. This is exactly why our company decided that I need to come here and tell you this story, because you will deal with customers in same industry, and when you satisfying customer needs, you're good. But when you're failing in the projects, Ukrainians are bad. This is the biggest problem. So we need to support each other. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello. First of all, thanks for the speech. I have actually two questions. The first one, could you tell a little bit more about automation testing in IoT? Maybe some specific things. And the second one, what was your the most interesting and challenging problem you faced with, and how did you solve that? Thanks.
I will start with second question. Most interesting issue was when I first received at 2 AM message from customer, I'm so frustrated. This was the most stressing and most interesting. After that, everything else looking okay, we will deal with it. As for automated testing, it depends which project will you work on. On some projects, there is a custom really physical environment that allows to test specific of the hardware and software on those projects, and then you're using language that developers of this additional hardware define to use. Sometimes you can use whatever you want. Since Python is most popular language right now, our testers using Python. But again, there is no silver bullet. Python is not better than Java. Java is not better than JavaScript. Someone told that PHP is not working. Depends on every specific situation. So, unfortunately, many projects not going here due to this problem. You need specific environment to test those projects, and you either bring in this environment here, or you're not winning the project. That's it.
If the customer gives you some feature to develop, and the developer, when he's developing his code, find out that there is some technical restrictions, like what will you do? You would say to the customer that it's not possible and change the requirements, or you will try to dig deeper and find might be other solution?
It depends on how important this customer for us, how we love him, and how he loves us. Definitely. Human relations means a lot. All three possibilities are true depending on actual situation. And again, there is no better solution in this case. It depends on how bad influence it will have on project overall. If digging of the feature, digging another way to implement this feature doesn't affect project execution, better to dig, because we are smart guys. Okay, we promised we will do it. If the restriction is so huge that, again, if feature is very important, better to write this to customer before we start digging, because customer can decide, okay, this is risk, we need to do. So everything is under communication and decided on face-to-face. In every case, don't forget, human relations to customer are important. If you're in good relations with your customer, probably he will call you not at 2 AM, but at 7 AM.
Who else?
Hello. So you told us that it's very important to show some progress on your work, but at the same time you told us that for this area of business it's not very important and understandable with all those IoT slang and those I assume test reports and your automation. So I would like to hear from you some examples with how you show your progress to your clients and how it looks like.
Very good question. So we showing progress by developing UI features independently from background, architecture, or whatever. So UI for the customer is the progress bar, usually. And you can split, for example, those 20 pages. First month we developing mockups, then every next week we developing 2 pages. This is how we display the progress to customer. You don't forget, for you, for technical reason, for team progress, for internal management, you're talking in regular words, okay? But with customer, you're talking in words that he understands. Usually this is UI. By the way, very popular thing, UX. Sometimes, mostly, not important. Because when engineer is working in, let's say, Arbeitsplatz, where is a lot of noise, there is a lot of dirt, there is a lot of dust, the color of the button is the last thing he's worried about. And how many buttons he needs to push. Usually pushing one button is more than he wants to do.
And what is the rate of successfully finished project in time, and how does this paranoid approach help you to solve this?
Successful or in time?
Okay, let's say successful.
Okay. Fortunately, all projects that we did finished successfully. It means customer accepted result of our work. Customer told, this is what I was looking for. Thank you very much. Many customers returned to us with continued development of the project in the future. On time, this is a little bit different thing, because paranoid thing helps to, you can delay but cannot be late. It means that after paranoid description of all what customer wants to us and defining procedure of changing those requirements or parameters or whatever, when customer changes something, you display how it will influence on final date, and date will be slipped, and customer is okay. So you already missed the first date, but you are not late. This is the most important. And again, customers shouldn't know that you are late for 2 weeks, 2 days before you end in the project. Thanks. Here's. Raise your hand higher.
Hello, thank you for the lecture. And my question not related with to testing. I want to ask about security. As I know that maybe not all, but most IoT working via internet networking. And what about security? How security provides in maybe in our project, or do you have some way to prevent this?
Oh,
some
yeah.
hacks or something like this?
Good. Security. Especially with latest regulations in European Union, the storing of the personal data of users must be most secured than any other data that you're storing. And this depends on country to country, on region to region. Sometimes customer doesn't care about security except those that covered by regulations, because we collecting airflow in a huge productive refrigerator. And we have 6 gigabits of data wind speed on every controller. Please take it. Do it whatever you want with it. Sell it. Haha, I want to see it. But the user data must be secured. So you're using standard security measures. It means you're trying to push all those data into the cloud. If you're not putting those data into the cloud, where a cloud provides built-in security, there is a list of security measurements that every IT department of every IT company has and applies inside the IT company. You're contacting your IT and reapplying them to your product. Of course, you can communicate to customer, and customer can say, regarding your regulations, passport must be changed every 3 months. We don't want it. Or regarding your regulations, passport must be 12 symbols, whatsoever. We don't want it. Okay, you sign it and you store it. And providing without these features. Otherwise, do the best. The best thing is to contact professionals, I mean IT department, and ask them to list all security measures that must be applied to the data storage.